Hi everyone, I'm Emily Graziano, and today I'm here to talk about the first new-to-me movie of 2024 that is definitely worthy of going on the list of the top 10. Today I'm going to talk about the 1998 movie The Horse Whisperer, starring Robert Redford and Dame Kirsten Scott Thomas, directed and produced by Robert Redford. The first time that Mr. Redford both directed and acted in the same film. The movie was based on the 1995 novel by Nicholas Evans. I have not read the novel. Maybe I will in the future. I don't know. Maybe this may be the case where the movie is actually better than the book, because I've looked on Goodreads and a lot of people say, well, the book is actually trash, the movie is actually better, and this is a rare occasion in which that is the case. Anyway, the movie I think was just so surprising to me, because I'm not really a fan of like horses. I would not ride a horse because they have a mind of their own. I would pet a horse and I admire them from afar, like they can be like these gorgeous creatures, but am I like this horsewoman connected with them and loves them and all that? No. Anyway, but the year 1998, it was just a magical year for me, and I don't know how, well actually yes I do know how this passed me by, because I was more into movies like Mulan, which came out in 1998, The Parent Trap, which came out in 1998, this is the 98 remake, with Dennis Quaid and Natasha Richardson, rest in peace, and Lindsay Lohan in her debut, even though I don't really like Lindsay Lohan. But really what was taking up my life in 1998 was Kiss Psycho Circus, and Kiss in general, just basking in the fact that they were still united, you know, watching Dodger Stadium on Halloween, going to Spencer's, playing actually watching my mother play the Nightmare Child video game, just all of that fun stuff in 1998. This is what was dominating it. So, that's why this kind of passed me by. But when I was in kindergarten, I had a friend's older sister, and this is 2001, 2002, who I think was really, really into this movie, because I remember watching bits and pieces of this movie at their house on the VHS player in her sister's room. And because the older sister, it was her TV, it was her VHS player, she dictated what we watched, and she always wanted to watch this movie. So I remember like going to sleepovers at their house, waking up, the credits of this movie would be playing. She would fast forward to her favorite parts. So I always knew parts of this movie, but I did not fully watch it until the year 2024. So a little bit about this movie. This movie stars Robert Redford, Dame Kirsten Scott Thomas, Diane Wiest, Sam Neill, Scarlett Johansson, Chris Cooper, and Kate Bosworth in a very small but crucial role. Like I said, it was based off the 95 book by Nicholas Evans, and the real-life horse whisperer, the character of Robert Redford's, Tom Booker, he is a fictional character, but he's based on real-life people like Buck Bronneman, Tom Dorrance, Ray Hunt, and Monty Roberts, MVO. Monty Roberts was famous, world famous, for being Queen Elizabeth's horse trainer. And I just found out that he inspired the character of Tom Booker in this movie. And it says right here, although Robert's last visit with the Queen was several years ago, they still talk on the phone. This is as of summer 2021. And he's in regular touch with her staff about various projects, including using horses to aid veterans and others who face mental health struggles. None of this would happen if it weren't for Queen Elizabeth, said Roberts, which is pretty amazing. The fact that he has a member of the Royal Victorian Order, that is insanely prestigious. It's even more prestigious than getting a dame or a knighthood, like a damehood or a knighthood. And I looked it up. He was invited to her funeral in September 2022. So this is how much the Queen really loved him. And then to know that he helped inspire Robert Redford's character in The Horse Whisperer, that's even more amazing. So, let's talk about the plot of this movie. So, the plot of this movie is that Scarlett Johansson's character and Kate Bosworth's character are best friends. One morning in winter, it's a winter morning, they decide to sneak out and go riding together on their horses, but they get caught on the railroad tracks, not by a train, but by this semi-truck. And unfortunately, Judith, that's Kate Bosworth's character, dies, and so does her horse. Scarlett Johansson's character, Grace, and her horse Pilgrim, they live, but they're both severely injured. Grace has to go to the hospital, and she actually has part of her leg amputated, and then the horse has to go to the vet, and Pilgrim is severely injured as well, and they want to put the horse down, but her mother, played by Kirsten Scott Thomas, Grace's mother, says you can't do that because she believes that the healing process for Grace is linked to Pilgrim's because they went through this accident together. They're going to have to heal together, that type of thing. And to help that process along, she enlists the help of a horse whisperer, played by Robert Redford, Tom Booker. And he lives in Montana. So they go from New York to Montana, and they will, through the healing process of Grace and Pilgrim, working with Tom Booker, they will live and work on the ranch owned by the Booker family as Tom's brother and his brother's wife and their kids, and then his parents are also on the ranch and they all take care of it. So that is the basic premise. But people, while the healing process between the horse and the young girl, as well as the relationship with her mother and the daughter, while that is a crucial, pivotal part of the plot, this, at the heart of it, is actually a romance between Kirsten Scott Thomas's character and Robert Redford. And it is so evident. I would say that the romance takes more of a central focus than the healing aspect does. And then you have Sam Neill, who plays Kirsten Scott Thomas's husband, and their marriage is kind of on the rocks. And then you have Robert Redford's character, who's divorced from his wife because she lives in Chicago as a music teacher, and he didn't want to live in the city. He wanted to live out his dreams on a ranch with horses, living that lifestyle. Their lifestyles just did not match up. So you have this conflict of the romance, the mother and daughter, and then the horse and the girl. So all of that is very interwoven. And I know it sounds like kind of weird me saying it, but I think the fact why I believe the romance takes precedence over the mother-daughter relationship is evidenced in the very final scene of the movie. And I'm not going to say what that is, but I will tell you this. It is not. The final scene is not about the mother and the daughter. It does not contain them in the same frame. They're not. It's not like their conflict is resolved maybe 20 minutes before the movie actually ends, and then at the end of it you still have the romance element still playing out. So that's honestly why I believe this movie is really a romance, and I think it was actually mismarketed to kids in 1998, considering this is made by Touchstone Pictures, which is in turn owned by the Disney Corporation. They were probably advertising this movie on the Disney Channel to young kids, and there's nothing wrong with young kids wanting to watch this movie. It's just with the runtime being 2 hours and 50 minutes, I don't think young kids actually have the attention span for this movie because it's actually lush. It's because there's not a lot of action scenes. They'd probably be bored. They don't really care about the romance between two adult characters that isn't epic. Like, I mean, it's not like on the line in in the line of something like Titanic, where that their romance, they're not gonna make it. This is lush. It's very adult oriented in the sense that it revolves around, well, in Annie's case, that's Kirsten Scott Thomas. In Annie's case, it's, do I leave my husband? Do I leave my family? Because I'm starting to fall for Tom Booker, Robert Redford's character. That's a very adult scenario. And some kids may be bored by that. So I'm just going to say that. Let's talk a little bit about Robert Redford's character, because in this movie, I swear to God, Robert Redford put a lot of himself into the character. There are certain scenes where I'm like, no, that has to be his influence. And he can do that because he's both the director and the actor. Like, when he's kidding around with his nephews on the farm, on the ranch, when he's teasing Annie, when his character's teasing Annie, when he's being kind of cheeky and sarcastic, I'm like, well, that has to be Bob himself. That just has to be natural, because it didn't seem like acting to me. It seemed very natural. And Kirsten Scott Thomas even admitted in a 1998 interview that Robert Redford made her a braver actor on this project, and he also allowed her to put a lot of herself into the role. So if she put a lot of herself into the role she was playing, I have no doubt in my mind that Robert Redford put a lot of himself into his role that he was playing. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Scarlett Johansson's character. Personally, I'm not really a fan of Scarlett Johansson. I just don't really like her, but considering she's only like 13 in this movie, I don't really have a problem with her. I thought she did a great job portraying the emotions, being a teenage girl on the onset of becoming a woman, and now she's got a physical deformity. She played that really well. She played that naivety. Like, there's a scene in which Robert Redford's character, Tom, makes her drive on the open country road, and she's like, but I've never driven a car before, and he's like, well, you just gotta put your foot on the gas. And it's just a great scene on how she's nervous, she's got a physical deformity, she's never done this before, and Robert Redford's character, Tom, makes her relax. Tom Booker makes her relax, and he's just so laid back, and I don't know, it's just an excellent scene in which I think it displays Scarlett Johansson's character and Robert Redford's character. It was just a really fun scene. So I thought that she did a fabulous job. Now the ending, let's talk a little bit about the ending in a spoiler-free manner. This ending, I'll say it right now, is different to the ending in the book. Like I said, I haven't read the book, but I looked it up on Goodreads, and I'll just say it right now, the ending to the novel sucks. I would be so ticked off if I read the whole novel and then it ended the way it did. I'd be like, well, this sucks. That was a waste of time. What's the payoff to that? That's just pathetic, actually. So I honestly believe the ending in this movie is better. And Robert Redford, because I was watching an interview in which he talked about this, he said he came up with that ending himself, and he believes that the ending that he came up with, that's in this film, is better for the story they were telling. And I completely agree. He said the ending for the book is fine for the book, but this is a screen adaptation, and for the story that you're telling on screen, it works better for the characters and for the story you're telling. And I agree with him. Now, for the ending, I honestly believe he took a lot of inspiration from what Sidney Pollack would have done. Sidney Pollack has said in the past that a lot of his movies end in a certain way in terms of character relationships and romances. They always end up in a certain way. And if I say what it is, then I'm going to spoil the entire ending of this movie, but the ending to me is very Sidney Pollack. It's reminiscent of The Electric Horseman. If you've seen The Electric Horseman and how that ends, you kind of can get a glimpse of how this will end. So I don't know if it really was inspired by Sidney Pollack, but I can make that direct connection for sure. And of course, Sidney Pollack was Robert Redford's professional collaborator across 7 movies, including Jeremiah Johnson and 3 Days of the Condor and The Electric Horseman. The Way We Were, which I hate that movie, so we won't discuss that anymore. But I think he was really inspired by that. Even if he won't admit to it, I think there's that direct connection that you can make. So overall, I'm really glad that I saw this movie because it was romantic. This movie has one of the most romantic dance scenes that I've ever seen on film, and it's so intimate that it's so close. You feel that connection between Tom Booker and Annie. You really feel that connection, and I was like so excited. I thought it was the sweetest thing. And then just the scenes that they share together, even though they have a slight dislike of each other at first, it kind of grows to respect, and then they actually fall for each other. It's just a really, really adult love story, I think. And again, that's why I think kids would be bored with it. But anyway, I really am glad that I finally saw this. I definitely recommend it. It's a little bit long, but it's not drawn out. You really can concentrate on the story, and I think it's great. I don't understand why it only has a 6.7 on IMDb, or why people say this movie sucks, or why people hate the movie. I don't know. I don't understand why, but I certainly do not. So I highly recommend it, and I'm glad that I talked about it in this video. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Probably we'll be discussing the song Walking on the Moon in that music video. So thank you for watching it, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm Emily Graziano. Bye-bye.